Hello everybody, I'm Catherine Deming. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I'm a Catholic at St. Thomas More Parish in Iowa City, and I practice Buddhism. And today our Insight programming includes mental well-being, unique challenges in our time, and my job is to talk about families, relationships, and the role of humor. So I just want to take a minute to say that I'm sorry that we can't meet together, because usually we just talk together and people have questions, and then it's more a conversation than a lecture, and I like that better. But here we are, and I'll do my best. So I want to talk about 4 things, and that is, the first one is the existential gap. The second is the humor and the gap that's required for humor. And the third thing is practice in our lives, in our families. And the fourth thing is resilience. And so the first thing is the gap. And in the existential gap, so in our lives, we have something happen, and then we have our response. But in this moment, between the thing that happened and our response, the gap, this is where we create our lives. So we have choice right there. And it will determine what our lives will be like and who we will be as people in the world. Because this is where our freedom is, in this choice. And outside of it, when we decide, it's done, and over here, the thing, usually we don't have any control over that. So we make our lives here. So someone says something that's hard. How do you respond determines what happens next and determines who you are. Unkind, kind. Open, closed. This is the moment of your freedom. And so this can change everything. When we recognize that things don't have to be the way they've been, or they don't have to be the way we don't like. We can't control somebody else, but we can control who we are, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with the other person. It really is all about us and who we want to be. And actually, I learned this in a philosophy class when I was a sophomore in high school, and I swear, it changed my life. Because I started thinking, oh, well, then I'm going to make decisions based on who I want to be and not on what happens. And there's so much power in that. We might go back to that. But we will when I talk about practice. The second kind of gap is with humor. But not just that. There's a gap that we can create in a lot of ways. And it's so important in coping, which is honestly what resilience is all about. And so there's a kind of a story from a psychologist named John Gottman. And he says this couple was fighting. And in the middle of this fight, the husband says, "Oh, I like your shoes." And the wife goes, "Oh, really? Yeah, I just got them." And all of a sudden, there's a gap created by the tone and the distraction, actually. But these two people then are able to regroup and make different decisions. Because when we're having an argument, we're bonded. not in a not good way. Any kind of conflict does that. And even if we separate, like, I go to my room and the other person leaves, we're still like this because we're not moving on. We're just connected to what just happened and we're ruminating about it or like fuming or whatever, but we're still here and there's no room. And actually to cope, we need room because otherwise we just walk around stuck in stuff and it doesn't feel good and it doesn't help us. So finding the gap in anything or creating a gap can be so helpful. And the gap can be made also, like it in families, by just stopping. Like, I don't think I want to do this. You know, like we've done this, and it doesn't feel good, and let's not. You know, that's a gap. Or starting over, that's a gap. You find a way not to be doing this in that way that's not good. And humor in particular works with gaps. Because if you've heard a joke before, it's really not that fun. I mean, it's okay. It's a good joke, but it's not that fun. Because humor works on giving us something unexpected. So that's the gap. We get the unexpected, and it's like all of a sudden it's new, and all of a sudden it's interesting, and all of a sudden it has made a play on words or a different viewpoint, and that is something that's not the norm, and that opens. Humor opens. And so if we can find humor at all in a situation, even if it's black humor, it's so helpful to coping because we're not stuck. And stuck is, again, this. We might not be stuck with a person, but we're stuck with a situation. And so we try to open. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about resilience. But opening, anytime we can do that, we're going to be coping better. Opening, and this is, see, I'm creating gap. There's the gap, opening. That allows us to be different. It allows us a choice. It allows us to feel differently in the same situation where we had been stuck. All of a sudden, this opens and we get to breathe and we get to make a different choice. Here, we're not making choices. We're just stuck in the choice we started with. And I don't mean just conflict. I mean hard times. And if we just stay there and focus on that, we don't have any room to change or grow or make different choices. So that's why we're trying to create this, trying to create gaps. Okay, so the third thing I've been thinking about is practice. And if we think about our lives as practice versus our lives, it can be really helpful. Like like today, I'm driving, I dropped my husband off somewhere and I was coming back and this person was in the other lane and cut me off. And then, right after being cut off, slowed down. And I had a moment of thinking I might get annoyed. And then I thought, why? Now that's a gap. All of a sudden, I moved from this thing to kind of curiosity. Curiosity is always helpful in creating gaps. So I'm like wondering what was going on. So I look behind me, and there are like 37 cars close behind me, and I thought and then that person needed to turn right there. They were in the wrong lane, and that they had to move over. So all of a sudden, I'm not annoyed. I have some compassion for what just happened, and I get to just move on without carrying that. And so that was nice. And so I think about that as practice in the sense that, like, I'm always, not we're actually always in the presence of opportunities, as kind of the same thing as the existential gap. Opportunities that open to us and we can choose. And so I think it's when something hard comes up, that is that opportunity to be mad, frustrated, anxious, open, compassionate, all kinds of things. I think we have a thing in our culture, and I think psychology doesn't help this, in the sense that people will say, well, my feelings are my feelings, and I get to have my feelings. Well, of course. And, that's what I do in my job. The first thing I do with people is validate everything. And so whatever is the thing, they deserve somebody to hear them and understand their situation. That's just the beginning. Most of my job is helping people move through hard things and not let them go or not care or try to be just moving on. It's not that simple. But we want to rework it so that we don't have to carry that pain. And that's what practice is about. So that thing that happened with the car is such a little thing, but it was kind of practice for me to learn again how to do the gap. And when it works, it's so helpful. And so then I grow in my confidence in being able to do that just by trying. So that was this opportunity to practice the kinds of things I want, the way I want to be, and this is true for all of us. So things that are hard, like this virus, hard, losses, and so we want to be able to practice the things that we want for ourselves, like patience, generosity, kindness. And these things help us to be resilient. Now I'm jumping a little. But it's also what we want to practice in our lives. We want to practice being the way that we want to be. And I don't say be the way, because I feel like we're always learning. We're always trying. We're always practicing. And the word practice is really helpful to me, because then I don't feel like I have to be on it all the time. I have to, be perfect or be good or something. I'm just trying. And I'm always practicing. And I guess by the time I die, I hope I've achieved something based on all that practice. But it helps, because if we don't do as well, like let's say I got really annoyed with that person, and then I saw the 27 cars behind me, then I would have felt bad. Like, oh my God, I just was putting this person down, and I have all this annoyance, and I don't want to live with that. And, but then I get to think, well, that was practice. And now I know I can do something different next time. And then it's easier. Everything's easier. Okay, and the same thing in our families. Let's say, husband, meaning my husband. Okay, so let's say my husband was late this morning. I mean, my husband was late this morning. and I was like in the car, and I had the dog, and we're waiting, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I go in, like, come on, David, gotta go. He's still, putzing along, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like saying stuff to him, like, I don't want to be late, and I don't like to be, like, I'm like a person who can say I don't want to be late. Like, that's funny, because, yeah, I am not known for my being on time. But anyway, today I want to be on time. And so I was like getting upset and getting impatient, and you can imagine, okay. So David gets in the car, and I can tell he doesn't feel well. And then he's got this, he actually has a new fistula, and it's not going well for dialysis. And so I felt his arm, and it's hot, and that's bad. And so I didn't use my time well there. And I didn't honor him with curiosity or compassion or openness or flexibility, which is what, resilience is all about. And the way we want to be. So I felt bad, and then I remembered I have more opportunities. This is a family. He's my husband. I get to do better next time. And again, back to practice. So these are ways every day, every minute, that come to us in an elevator where, somebody like steps in and stands close to you, and we're supposed to socially distance. And, you can think about that differently. This person might be really sick. This person might have something really big on their mind. This person might be clueless. They're just not thinking. And it changes us, and it changes our life to work with these things, gaps, and practice. Okay, so the next thing is resilience. And there are a lot of things that help us to be resilient. And, resilient is like old school Teflon. Something can get on it, but it doesn't stick. We just don't hang on to hard things. And we don't have to hang on to good things. Not that we don't care, don't want to, but we're not as needy. And so there's some things that are really helpful about resilience, which is just, as I say, kind of Teflon. It's coping. It's not as good a word as Teflon. But it's managing, it's dealing, it's like not being blown away by hard things. We get to still be here. We get to still be who we are. We get to still be who we want to be. And that's what resilience helps us with. So some characteristics of resilience are flexibility. Rigidity is this, just the definition of this, because things have to be a certain way. And it's really not helpful, although it definitely increases during times that are hard. And I think there's a reason for that. Like, we try to create structure when things are hard. And so we can think about that when people are rigid, or when we're rigid. We can think, I'm trying to create structure. And then knowing that, we can make other choices. All of a sudden, that's another part of resilience, is being self-aware. And self-aware is the ground of being able to be resilient because we are aware of what's happening with us. And then, when we're aware, we can make choices. Okay, so there's flexibility, which is more this. And there's compassion, which goes a lot of directions. It goes toward the other person. We're aware of that. We're used to that. Also goes this way, toward ourselves. We don't have to be hard on ourselves. We can have compassion for ourselves. Like we're trying. Or if we're not trying, we didn't think about it. We weren't as aware. We can do better. We can try a different thing. We can try to open stuff up. And compassion for the whole situation. Like there are a lot of things, not just COVID going on, that are hard. And we can have compassion for the whole thing. Like just kind of, compassion does this. Compassion says, here we are, with softness. Softness is a kind of flexibility. Being in the present moment is another part of being resilient. And, what people do, in my practice, I notice a lot. My work practice. I call it, oh my God, what if? And so it's like, oh my God, what if? And then, oh my God, what if? And then, oh my God, what if? And we live in, oh my God, what if? And that's this too. Because you're like it's this thing. Oh my God, what if? Oh my God, what if? Oh my God, what if? Oh my God. So, actually, we don't have to do that. That does not help us. A lot of people think that being anxious about the future is kind of preparation. And I am here to tell you, unconditionally, worrying about the future prepares you not for anything, except you can become a master of worry. So we want to just stop this thing where we're doing that, oh my God, and we want to just notice, there's our self-awareness. Notice I'm doing that. And actually, when we do that and we live in that negative future because we're just focused there, that's zero. The negative future doesn't even exist. It's like nothing. It hasn't happened. It's not real. And so we do not want to live there. Usually, almost always, the present is fine. It's hard, with COVID and everything else you want to think about. But we're usually okay here, in this moment. It's the worry that sends us into somewhere not good and blocks our resilience. So we want to stay here and just make a decision when that happens. If that happens, it's not likely to happen. We'll meet it with grace and with courage. We'll do our best. We'll practice. The last part of resilience, I have to hurry up now because I'm getting toward the end, is accepting what we can't change. And again, there are lots of us who have a hard time with that because we think about what should be. And shoulds are also nothing. They're again, they're not real. They're what we want things to be, but it's not here. And so we try to accept what we can't change. That opens. Because it's all right then, what now? Here, no, can't be. We're stuck. Open. What now? Okay. So that's all I have time for, and I'm very pleased that I was able to be with you, and thank you for this opportunity. Good luck with everything, everybody, and God bless.